What's up, everyone? This is the voice of Game Changer Wrestling, MLJ, and you are listening to Uncorked with Kid.
In your house. We're in your house tonight. We're coming at you in your house. We're gonna polish up the boots and raise the roof all night in your house.
Howdy, everybody. This is Kid Osborne. You're listening to Uncorked with Kit, and I really start my podcast off with howdy and how I introduce myself every single time. Like, I couldn't be a little bit more original. I guess not. I got nothing. But honestly, I guess I introduce myself because this is not really one of those podcasts that you turn on. It's one of the kinds that you, stumble upon, after you subscribe because, I just forced it down your throat so many times that you're just like, all right, I'll fucking do it, Kit. Jesus Christ, I'll subscribe. And then, you're on a long drive somewhere. Maybe you're on your way to work. And I just happen to post it, whenever it is I post it, because it's not consistent. And then you're just like, oh, I guess I'll listen to it. And then, it's just me ranting on for 5 minutes about my life and how I'm feeling, what's going on in my head. And then I finally get on, with the real podcast where I actually interview somebody a little bit more entertaining than I am, or somebody that I can bounce ideas and subjects off of. But regardless, I appreciate all of you that do subscribe. I just kind of looked at it and, at all the, how many people are subscribing and the demographic. And I'm really surprised, actually. And I really am appreciative. I mean, I love doing this podcast. It's kind of a way for me to, get things, out of my head and have you guys, maybe learn something or maybe you guys start to hate me more. I don't know. It's not for you. It's honestly, this podcast is for me, and you guys are just grooving on it, But a lot's been going on with me. I've been wrestling a lot more, and it's been more consistent. My ankle's getting better. For those of you who don't know, I broke it in August. I came back in November. Definitely a short amount of time, probably a lot shorter than I should have. But every day it gets better and better. I mean, there's certain little pains in my ankle that occur, like if I turn the wrong way or I go too fast. And I swear to God, when that happens, I just want to kill somebody. But it is what it is. It's a slow process, but it gets easier and easier, and I'm taking more and more risks every match that I'm in, I really owe it to all of you, because without the support that I had when I was just bedridden, laying in bed, while watching all my friends outside playing, while I had to sit inside, like Robin Williams and Jack, I had you guys to, message me like nonstop, honestly, for like a couple of months just to see how I was and how I was improving, what the timetable was. And that means a lot. So we're about a little over a week after the Hammerstein ballroom show at GCW. And that was a spectacle. Let me fucking tell you. And this episode is a couple days before that show. So, what you're going to be listening to is Jimmy and I talking about what we expect, and how it got to this point with GCW. After the show, I can tell you that it was just cool to be there. But, the more I do it, and this, maybe you could put this down as being bitter, but I mean, I'm upset. I wish that I could be a part of this show. I don't know, you put it down as I'm just not. There's so many different things that you want to question, as a wrestler, for not being a part of it. Some of it is, am I good enough? Can I hang? And then the other part is, well, it just didn't happen. It wasn't your time. But regardless, it was an awesome show. I'm so happy for everybody that got to be a part of it. And it was really, at one point I was really happy to be in the ring at the end, celebrate with all my friends. I definitely have a very small, minuscule part, in GCW, just being able to have performed there several times. And, you can think of my character however you want. But I'm I just want to be there, and I just want to, be entertaining, right? So that's what the whole fucking point is. And for a lot of us, it's just to have fun, and it's a great way to stay in shape. But anyway, not to get into that anymore. We have a lot ahead. I'm excited for this one and to hear all your feedback. After you listen to it, my conversation with Jimmy, we get into GCW, its humble beginnings, and we also get into that black and yellow brand that used to be cool. But you guys can decide, on how you feel, and I just am so appreciative, and I'm really just talking out my ass right now. So here's my conversation with Jimmy fucking Lloyd. Well, hey everybody, this is Kit Osborne. We're listening to Uncorked with Kit, and my guest today is Jimmy fucking Lloyd. Jimmy, what's going on, man?
Just here, man. What's up?
I know, you're here all the time. We're actually in my kitchen right now. This is the first time I actually have an episode that I'm recording, not doing live, and we're in my kitchen here drinking boxed wine, Black Box Riesling. I was going to get a bottle, and then I was like, wait a minute. I'm not doing this over Skype with somebody, so I actually need to get more. And every time you're over, we usually house whatever the fuck is in here. So
it's crazy that it took this long to get to an Uncorked with Kit. We hang out all the time.
I know, and every single time we just get lazy.
Then I told you no a couple times.
Yeah, it was really hard.
I had to big lead you.
Yeah, you did. Thank God you finally were able.
I would expect a nicer wine out of a guy like you,
Yeah, well, I feed you all the time when you come over.
Well, because you drive the BMW, I would think that would mean a nicer wine.
Well, that's the thing, because I spend most of my money on the car that I can't afford good wine. So I drink cheap wine, in order to make myself forget how much I have to pay, for this thing that I totally regret. But we're finally doing it, right?
We're here.
Instead of us watching YouTube videos of our own matches, where we're fake looking but really looking at our phone. Which most of the time, I think we just watch each other watch it to make sure that dude, you see what I just did? Did you just see what I just did?
But
the
thing is, we're only on our phone when the other person's match is on.
Yeah, exactly.
But when it's our match, we're watching. And
yeah.
Yo, come on, dude, are you watching?
Yeah, exactly. That's why every time I be watching your match, I could just see in my peripheral vision you going, oh yeah, he's looking. He's about to see this. Are you looking? Dude, you got to see what I do here. And I go, oh shit, dude, I better not get up and leave, But I don't know. That's just how we are all the time anyway. I feel like now I see you. In the last at least in the last 2 years, I probably see you more than I see my own family.
I see you all the time. I was here fucking on fucking holidays and shit.
Yeah, you were here. You spent Thanksgiving with me, when I woke you up for it. The whole time when I was since I broke my ankle, on August, the middle of August up until and I finally wrestled at GCW. You were over almost every other day, and I'm just sitting there. I
even was here when we went to that show together.
Yeah, you drove my car and picked me up at the emergency room. So I think we have some good chemistry, is basically what we're saying here.
We'll see how this goes. It could go to complete shit.
Oh, yeah. I have a whole, list of topics here to talk about, because otherwise I feel like we would end up bringing up something that we don't want to talk about on a podcast.
We just start rambling.
Yeah, we would. And
gotta stay on track.
Exactly. So, why don't we get started here? Me as an interviewer and not a friend anymore, where I give you the hard questions, which really aren't that hard. But I just wanted to start off with, when this comes out, when this already comes out, it's going to be about a week after the Hammerstein ballroom when GCW is there in New York, in Manhattan, and I think that's one of the coolest fucking things on the planet. It
really is. I'm so excited.
I almost so at least for this, I want everybody to get your perspective on on your whole thought process. We're a week before, so it's Monday, or it's Tuesday as we're recording this, and
The show's in a couple days.
And just a few short days, man. You're gonna be in one of a sold out fucking crowd.
Sold out Hammerstein Ballroom.
Yeah.
Live on pay-per-view.
Live on pay-per-view.
First GCW pay-per-view ever.
Yeah, and that's insane. So it's definitely it's already something everybody is already gonna remember before it even happens. You know.
I know, and like the thing that's crazy is Hammerstein was like ever since I was a kid was on like I had a list of places I wanted to wrestle.
Yeah.
I didn't really never wanted to really wrestle at MSG and all them places. Like, of course it would be cool, but that wasn't on my list.
Yeah.
Like, of course I want to do it.
Yeah. You're not
But
gonna say no.
the places that I had in mind when I got into wrestling was I want to wrestle at the ECW Arena, I want to wrestle at Corrigan Hall, and I want to wrestle at Hammerstein Ballroom.
Mm-hmm.
I did the ECW Arena. I did Corrigan Hall.
Yeah.
This is the one I didn't think would happen because not many people have ran it.
When was the last time there was a Ring of Honor? Yeah.
And the only people that basically there was Ring of Honor at the Hammerstein Ballroom. There was ECW at the Hammerstein Ballroom and the One Night Stands, and then there was the Urban Wrestling Federation ran there a little bit, but not many people know about that.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were just for a couple pay-per-views that were. I don't even think many people even knew it was happening, but
right, like
not many. The gist is not many people
yeah
have been able to run the Hammerstein Ballroom, so I didn't think that one was going to be achievable, but I had hopes, and the fact that GCW is running it, I thought the only person that could do it was GCW, and now they're doing it.
Yeah. I mean, now I think everybody believes that GCW could pretty much go anywhere. I mean, it's the the third biggest promotion on the planet.
It really is crazy to say. It really is.
Like, I mean, I just when I just posted, just yesterday of me and you on like your birthday, like in the compound. And like that's only like 3 years ago, and you're thinking about like, man, it's in that little small building, and then literally 2 doors down is CZW, and then you just see in 3 years' time, a company just really non-existent, and then one that just becomes like, one of the most world-renowned promotions, and I think like without that. Millionaire money build that brought it to the dance like that.
The thing is that CZW and GCW, they were enemies, and CZW was CZW in this area, like everybody knows the name CZW.
Yeah.
And then this area was like the top thing at the time, but GCW just went and blew past them. Not even CZW, not even close to anywhere.
Right.
GCW is now ever. More people might know the name possibly just from the lineage. Yeah. Because everybody heard of CZW back in the day.
You just type it in on Google and there's a million things like Mondo, Zandig, Gage, and then you're like.
And the thing is, a lot of people didn't even know what CZW turned into or anything like that. They just knew the name. They didn't really watch shows. They just knew the name.
Yeah, and they're not aware of what it is now either.
No, they don't know. Some people probably don't even know CZW is doing what they're doing now.
Right.
They just know the past.
First of all, they had we just saw, you can see it on Instagram, that they had a combine, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, there's 100 kids there, and I'm like, wow, they're really not aware of
what's going on.
Yeah, and it's like you would have thought, because you would just think for example, if there's anything that happens in we're in PA right now, if something happens in LA, 10 seconds ago, we're going to fucking see and hear about it and know every little thing about it. And yet there's CZW and you're not aware of what it actually is anymore. Yeah. But I think that, that brought GCW to where they are now. It's like, and I've probably brought it up enough times where I just talk about it wasn't just a fluke type of thing. I think Brett, is he's a lot smarter than I think a lot of people give him credit for before, his success now, is that, he started off, it seems like he's just doing everything that CCW wasn't, that everybody wanted, and DJ has this huge vision for it, but it's dude, it doesn't work like that.
The fact is that I think, in my opinion, GCW, of course, Brett's really smart.
Yeah.
And a lot smarter than people give him credit for, I'll give you that. But I think GCW was just right place, right time.
Yeah.
There wasn't much going on at the time when GCW started. Like, there were some big promotions like PWG, AEW. There were some big promotions, but GCW went above and beyond. Like, most companies just stayed in one area. GCW was able to expand and go everywhere and run shows everywhere, run shows every weekend. Even back then, they weren't doing that, but it expanded and evolved into that.
Right, it's because
And the thing is, like, GCW, I think it just happened. Like, Brett kind of got lucky in a sense.
Right.
Because GCW just had something special about it. I'd never been to a company where people want to work so hard like they did for GCW.
Yeah.
Even from the start when GCW was nothing. Everybody gave everything for GCW, and it paid off. It was something, like, when you walked into GCW, you felt like you had to do something crazy, and it was something special.
Because it had a good locker room, and it was a good bunch of guys that, like, you know, it's not just, you know, guys you want to hang, like, you know, that you want to hang with. There are guys that you, like, you know, not just guys that you want to impress. They're guys that are, like Gage, obviously, a perfect example is somebody that never, like, looks at him. He knows he's, like, a locker room leader. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you know, he's talking to, you know, the lowest guy on the card or whatever, like one individual in a scramble of 3 scramble matches or whatever, and, you know, and he's going in on a conversation of, like, how to make it great, you know, something like that.
And something else was that you can't replicate what GCW did, even back then. It can never be replicated because it was just something special, right place, right time, and the fans also made it because that crowd was so hot, and they believed in GCW. We had wrestlers and fans that believed in GCW to make it what it is today.
Right. I think 2 points is, one, I think without CZW being in, like, the where it was in, like, 2017 or 20 without that, you know, there wouldn't be the GCW that it is, because it's not like it was created. It's like created out of spite, which is kind of it's coming off as, but it's let's just say it's everything that everybody missed about the old CZW, and that's how it starts. But then it's literally what the name of it, what it is. It's a game changer, and it changes as it grows.
It literally
and the game changes. Like, the NFL game continues to change, and, like, that's what Brett does. He evolves it. He changes it. And every show is different than the other, you know. And even if you guys have a roster, it's still different. If you know.
And the thing is that when they ran into that cage of death and invaded it, like, I know there was a lot of heat and animosity going between the two parties because you could say it was off of spite, but the thing is that it evolved into something completely, totally different where that didn't even matter anymore. And that after that run-in, GCW just kept going and going and going, and CZW just kept going down.
Yeah.
And, like, the thing is, Brett, he didn't just, like, bring in names. He chose a core of people that he said, this is GCW. And they were just, like, the guys that weren't getting, like, appreciated. And he calls them the Last Outlaws because that's what they are. They were unwanted. They were guys that other people wouldn't take the chance on. And he took the chance on them, and they shined out, and they did everything they could. And from that, people got behind it. And GCW went up.
And that's exactly why it's as if, you know, it all comes full circle, you know, where it's you know, these Last Outlaws, like, you know, guys that people don't want to use, you know, or not don't want to use, but they have this certain rap about them or whatever, and that's why, you know, you have that video, you know, where it's basically every single one of them saying everything that's very true in the world.
We went from unwanted to undeniable.
Right.
People thought GCW was just a deathmatch company that would never grow. Right.
But that was so proven wrong.
Even DJ said, I seen GCW's come. Like, I know that saying.
That line is a real line.
It's not even from DJ, though.
But who said it?
I'm not going to get into that. I'll let other people handle that.
Okay.
But DJ said that same exact thing.
Yeah.
And he was completely wrong.
Yeah, he is. He was very wrong. And, you know, I hate to, you know, like, I obviously have my own opinion on, you know, CZW. Like, and it's like, when I left, it you know, And man, I mean, I realized how dumb I was after I left, because it was like that. It's like, wow, you know, if Kit's leaving, then
It's bad.
you know, and it's because like I had that, you know, that this insane mentality where I just thought like, you know, oh, eventually I'm gonna get what I not deserve, but like I'm gonna, if I stay long enough, it's gonna happen. And it's like, man, why did I waste so much time? Like, why didn't I listen to, you know, Drew and Brett, you know, and Brett was like the last person I talked to, you know, before I finally did it, you know, and I just straight up quit, you know, and it was like the right thing to do. I wish I did it a long time ago, because more and more opportunities happen when you're leaving. And then, you know, when that did happen, when I did finally leave, it's like, wow, I just saw everything in third person, you know, like you're not involved anymore, and you're not like, you know, you're not like making excuses for it and justifying their, you know, things or whatever.
And now back to Hammerstein Ballroom.
And then it goes, yep.
We sold it out in 24 hours.
Yeah.
It's live on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about it. It's the biggest thing going right now. Everybody's talking about that show. And they sold out in 24 hours without even announcing a match or anything.
Yeah.
Just people knew the talent that was going to be there. So that means GCW sold it out because of GCW.
Yeah.
Not because of anything else.
Right.
Just because of GCW and who they were. And they did it. They got to where they are doing it their way.
Yeah, exactly. And the one, you know, the one person I definitely want to like bring up, especially right now as we're talking about this, who I think is one of the biggest players in all of this, and he even has the same, you know, the credit, which is why I think like right before GCW did the invasion thing, you know, CZW is like changing its brand for the better, and then obviously it went downhill right after, and it's because of Giancarlo.
Yeah.
I think he is, you know, he has this, you know, he has a certain vision that everybody, all of us, I think, can relate to. You know, it's so, and I mean this as like a compliment, because I think there are people that go too complex, and then it makes, like, people don't need to think that hard. You know, there's certain things that we all care about, and you know, there's the sentimental value on certain things, and then it's the simplicity of, you know, what's the basis of this? It's a match, right? And then you have that in there, and you put those two things together, and he knows how to do it, and then at which point, like, everybody gets on board. Like he knows how to bring an emotion, and it's not an emotion that he's putting in the video, but he knows how to grab the emotion that he wants out of the viewer.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is like one of the biggest, you know, one of the most impactful things that brought GCW and CZW at the time, you know, to mold it into what it is that people are going to understand, you know,
and you said how
especially
DJ had that vision. Brett literally had the original CZW vision at first.
Yeah.
But then he changed it
Right.
all the way into what DJ wanted.
Yeah.
CZW
exactly.
to be.
And I'm
But
like,
he
man,
did it the GCW way. He didn't
right.
He didn't not do what
He didn't just skip steps like
and
how
he didn't,
DJ wanted.
And he also didn't ever get away from what his roots were.
Right.
What got him to the dance.
Right. But he never took away from those roots. He added to it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas essentially,
and just built over time.
Right. And essentially that's what DJ did, was just go, well, that's old CZW, and I'm just going to get rid of that and then add this. And it's like, nope, can't do that.
Yep.
Because people, just because of the brand, doesn't mean that people are going to stay on board.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, if you look at it now, obviously it says that, but that's how it is, man. Like, I mean, if you look at any fandom, you know, if you do one good thing for 5 years and then you finally do something after 5 years and you can't fucking hang anymore and you're not good enough or whatever, you know, that same fandom is going to just rip you to shreds. And that's what happens. So you have to literally stay with the times.
Sure.
You have to evolve, and you have to, you know, like, change the game. So, you know, that's like, I'm really excited for it. I mean, it's even just the building. I've never been there before, so I mean, just the view, the whole spectacle of it and the production part of it is a thing of its own. And then you go right into like, I wonder what Matt Justice is going to fall from, or jump from, or whatever. And I'm sure that's going to be terrifying.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah. All right, so like I wanted the transition away because I know that we're going to talk about GCW like a million times.
Yeah.
But so before you were even wrestling, I mean, I remember you as a fan. You were actually a huge fan of mine.
Yeah, okay.
But I wanted to know like what was your introduction to wrestling as a fan. But before that, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the child acting. You were in a movie with Robert De Niro at one point. You're sitting on a couch looking like you didn't even know where the fuck you were. But that how did that happen? And I've also seen some commercials that you were in that you showed me that I thought were awesome, like a Super Soaker commercial. Get the fuck out of here, well, first of all, I think the one question I have that's more important than all of them is, like, did they give you the Super Soaker like for free? Like, is that yours?
No.
Bastards. All right. So anyway, I guess let's talk about how'd you get into child acting and how that all started.
So I know I always wanted to be a wrestler, and I would do like a little bit of gymnastics as a kid, but like not like go to classes, but I would do like summer camps for gymnastics just to get some like flipping stuff down, and just because it was fun. Yeah. And I also was too young to get into wrestling. Obviously. So I was like...
Well, how old are we talking when you first wanted to be a wrestler?
Really young. I mean, when I was in that movie, I was like maybe like 7.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I should do acting too because wrestling can use acting in it too. It all comes together. Course. So I started going to acting classes, and from there I got auditions, and then I would do the auditions in New York, and I would also do modeling too.
Okay, yeah, I've seen some of your shots.
Yeah, and I got a part in the Robert De Niro, Matt Damon, Angelina Jolie, Joe Pesci, The Good Shepherd. Mm-hmm. I did that movie, and I did like different commercials. Like I did Cheerios, People Place, the Super Soaker thing you were talking about.
Yeah.
And I kept going to the auditions, but I wasn't really trying that hard.
Because that's what you wanted.
Yeah, I really wanted to go to.
You also, like, probably at that point didn't appreciate at all.
I just really loved wrestling.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even read the scripts that I got until like the day of on the way to New York.
Right.
And I almost got in a couple other movies. Like I was almost in another Robert De Niro movie. I was almost in the Odd Life of Timothy Green. And I also almost got in a Disney TV show.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
If I would have gotten that Disney TV show, I would have been set.
Oh my god, dude! I could see you in your own like. Oh my god.
But I didn't really care that much. I just wanted to get to wrestling. So then eventually I just stopped doing it.
Dude, it's so funny though. I mean, I know that I'm older than older than you by like a few years, but like I did the modeling thing when I was like 7, exact the same thing, and it was like I didn't like it at all. My dad was so about it, and like now I look at him like, oh, that guy was totally trying to use me, and it's like, but like I have these little like these like modeling pictures of me when I'm like 7, and I'm like, man, I wonder how difficult it was to make me like want to smile for it and act like I was enjoying myself, because at no point did I like, I just cared about wrestling, and that was it. And that's why like probably every time I did bad at school, my dad would take it away, can't watch it, can't play video games, none of that, and it just made you want it more and more. And then I got into high school, and then like my friend took me to a show, and then they it was CZW, and they advertised for tryouts or whatever, and then I went and did it, and then all of a sudden he fucking supported it, but I was like, man, if he didn't want to take it away, I never would have wanted to do it. But at 7, when I'm doing these little acting classes, and I had like little things, like not anything at all like that. I did an acne commercial once, and that's my highlight. But that's it.
And like when I would do them auditions in New York, I was also trying to go to wrestling shows after it. Because I started going to wrestling.
Was that the motivation? Was it your parents that that brought you into it?
My cousin.
Your cousin, okay.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, I was a wrestling fan from the start.
When did you first see it?
Like a baby. They took me to CZW, and then because he was like babysitting me.
Yeah. With the same cousin?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, man! Your cousin was like he's the number one guy, dude. You better take care of him one day.
When I was a kid, I had like action figures. I had an ECW shirt. I had some CZW merch. Like I was like right off the bat, but like I didn't appreciate it. Like I didn't really understand it.
Well, nobody. Yeah, you never.
And then I started watching WWE stuff on TV and shit. And I started liking everything in wrestling. And I would go to as many shows as I could, watch everything.
So you were watching CZW before you even watched WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, I'm like the complete opposite. I didn't know anything about
like that.
Yeah, I'm like I didn't know anything about independent wrestling at all, and nobody until like my 2004. My best friend's brother like took me to CZW, and I'm like, this is fucking real. I saw Gage, and I'm like that guy is terrifying.
I really liked the deathmatch stuff as a kid, but it also would scare me because I was so little, and they had like glass flying everywhere. I was nervous I was gonna get hurt, but
dude,
after a while,
when I first went to CZW and I saw like all the glass and the barbed wire, like this is 2004, so like you're somewhat familiar. Like I've seen like some things on like in Japanese wrestling and stuff like that, but like 2004, it's still tape trading, or if you had a really good internet connection.
Yeah,
and like I did not, so there was that, but it was like. The way I can compare it is like that movie No Holds Barred, and like there's Stan Hansen in it, and they're like in this like dank ass fucking place with like, the turnbuckles are tires or whatever, and I'm like that's the only thing I could mentally, think of it, as, and I'm like wow, this is nuts. This shit's real though,
Yeah.
And I mean, it's obviously at the same time like I didn't. 2004, I'm 13, and then, when I'm 18, I'm already well into CCW. Like I have favorites, and I have, whatever. But then you hear that first like tryout, you're like stand up like the Manchurian Candidate, and you're just like I want to do that, and then you finally fucking do it. Like what was the because you were already into it, and you're way younger than I was when I first saw it. What was the first like opportunity and chance that you had to try out and like get involved?
Okay, so I would also go to these 2:00 shows by me in Belmar, New Jersey.
Okay.
It was with the Monster Factory at the time.
Yeah.
But then they eventually split, and it was called Old Time Wrestling, and they would run every Saturday at 2 p.m. So I would go for a while. Then eventually they asked me to start helping out and doing like camera work for them. And then from there, I started like cleaning and doing all this shit. I started doing that young, and I was 13 years old. And one of the trainers saw me in the bathroom scrubbing the floors.
I was like, wait.
And then he said, yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, all right. Yeah, so anyway,
and then
what did he say?
He came in and he was like, you want to start training? And I was like, yeah. He's like, all right, bring $50 and come on this day.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. I started training, and that was in 2012.
Okay.
And then from there, I would train there, but I would still go to all the indie shows.
Right.
And I started training, and then I had to wait a while, like a couple years until I had a match.
Yeah.
And I had a match in
way too young.
2014 was my first match.
How old were you? 2014.
I was 16.
Yeah, 16. Okay.
So in 2014, I had my 2014, I had my first match. And then from there, I was still going to indie shows.
Right.
And then I was at a show in New York. And DJ knew who I was from going to the shows.
Yeah.
And this one guy said, come with me. And he brought me up to DJ Hyde's table. And CZW when I was a kid was the goal. That's all I wanted to do.
Right.
But I didn't start there because I started at the other place. And that place was more about old school. They didn't like any of that shit. Right. They wanted you to have like matches where you only called from the middle to the end.
Yeah.
And they would tell you the finish, and you couldn't really do
basic
anything.
as basic
as basic can be. And when I was there, they knew my goal was CZW, and they thought it was pretty weird. And I told them I wanted to do death matches, and they were like, because everybody else, like, when they would ask, like, what's your goals, they were like, oh, I want to be in WWE, and I'm like, oh, I want to be in CZW and do death matches, and they're all like, what?
Yeah.
And I went up to DJ's table, and the guy was like, give him a tryout or something, and DJ was like, okay, come on this day, and I was like, all right, and it was like taboo to leave that other place, because like they were so old school that they were like, this is where you have to be, all that bullshit.
That's fucking weird.
I just went and did it, and then I had to go tell them like, hey, I'm starting to train at CZW a little bit, and they were like, and I was like, but like you guys know this is my dream, and they're like, yeah, whatever, and they would give me shit for it, of course.
Yeah. But
I started training there, and
who was the top guys there? Like
nobody you know.
Like that Patches or something like that.
But you know Brian Johnson?
Yeah.
That was my original trainer.
Okay.
Him and he wasn't the guy that talked to me to start training, but he took over the whole school.
Right.
And I did the CZW thing, and then they like were like all weird about it, and I just started. I was doing both at the time, and then eventually got to a point where I had to separate.
Right. Well, I mean, there's a point where it's great to get different perspectives, like as we're all training. It's like that's why we all did seminars and shit. It's like I want to hear what Chris Hero says, and then I want to hear what Tommy Dreamer says, and then I want to hear what with Gulak, and then I want to fucking hear what Gage says, or like
So I started training at CZW around 2000, like early 2000, like 14, 15, like somewhere in between there.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I met you, because I was at that time, like I remember I was taking more of a break because I was just going to school, and I couldn't drive there, and I'm like just far enough away that it's like that I can't do a full-time job and go to school and then do wrestling or whatever. And like also, at that point it's like you're already getting told like, yeah, it's not believable for you to like fucking like exist, and then you're like, okay. And and then you're like, all right, let me pick what's more important. But then when I came back, because I stopped, I was done with school, and then I was more organized, and then I met you, and we were doing Dojo Wars, and I'm like, oh yeah, hey man, like if you want a picture, like I'll hit you after the show. Yeah, I was kidding. But and then we worked like almost immediately or whatever, and like you were, I mean at that point I didn't know like anything about you like at all.
And the thing at CZW, they treated me real weird. They made me like, kind of like acted like I didn't know shit.
Yeah.
And then they made me like I was already wrestling on other shows, and they made me do like reffing and shit.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and that must. I mean, I don't know how you were able to do that, because I would, in my head, it would just make me go, like, do they just not want me to do anything?
And like I would. I gotta do.
It's like I don't look at it as like a test. I looked at it as like they're just like playing with me, because they're not taking me serious or something like that.
I understood it was. Yeah. I understood it in a different aspect, and I was like, I'm just gonna do what I have to do until I get that chance.
Well, I only thought that way when it was like when it came to. It was like a very slow thought process. It wasn't like an immediate thing because we all know Drew, and if like you're Drew Gulak is that he's like one of those guys that like like how to put it, it's like hey man, how do you like your steak cooked? And he goes and he knows that you like it medium rare because he overheard you say it. And he knows that when you ask that, he wants you. I want him to say that, so he's gonna be like, "Oh, well done, dude, like 100%." And then say it with a straight face and go, "What?" Like that type of thing. And like that's how he is, or like. And
and my name was already Jimmy LLoyd on the Indies.
And he changed it.
Not on the Indies, but where I was wrestling, because that's the name I came up with. And so he you know how he was.
Yeah.
And he made you pick a color at the time, so I picked orange, and then...
What the hell made you pick orange?
Because a lot of the other colors were taken.
Yeah, but like, I mean, is there any significant value to orange?
I don't know. It was also Kenta Kobashi's color.
All right.
But,
all right,
I mean, I thought that was kind of cool.
You literally did have that.
It was kind of cool. But and then he was like, all right, you're gonna wear trunks, and then he changed my name to Lloyd Jamison. So
I know.
basically Jimmy Lloyd, but backwards with Jamison as the last
Dude,
name.
he would do that shit all the time, like Trooper Autobahn, which is it's an exit.
I know you see the
Yeah, I
sign.
see it so often, and I just go, oh my god. You know what I mean? He named Kid Osborne, like you know, like that's it, and it's like, oh my god. And you know, like one of them was because and the thing is, like, he didn't have like this like questionnaire thing where he's like, well, who's your favorite band? You know, what's your favorite color? Like, he didn't do that with me, or it wasn't like, you know, what did you want to be when you grew up? You know, if you weren't a wrestler or something like that. Like, it was just he's such a like, and he's still like this now. Like every time you know, we have like we would have no peace, I would hit him up because he would just I would just go to his place or whatever, and we would get dinner or something, and he does that. He just like, you know, it's like he's still just in teach mode all the time. Because like I there's a gap in between we see each other, so it's like the only thing that changes in his head of me is like, you know, if I have a beard or not, you know, and that's it. Because in his head, I'm still the same like kid in 2010, you know, and you know, when he was like, who's your favorite like singer? And I'm like, Ozzy, and then he's like, great, Osborne, last name, and then he just said Kid, and I was like, what, were you just like watching something? He was like, yeah, I was watching Knight Rider, and then I was like, jeez, and you're gonna go to the ring to Boys of Summer, and I was like, dude. And he's like, well, you're doing it, or you're not wrestling, and I was like, fucker, you know, and. But that's how he is. But he would test you, be like, "Hey, Drew, can you watch this match?" And you'd be like, "Yeah, yeah." And I'll watch it, and you're like, "So what'd you think?" He's like, "What would you think?" You know, that or like, "Oh yeah, I liked it." Wait, no, actually, I didn't like it. And I go, "Dude, fuck," you know. Like, but I don't know. I mean, I can see how when you go to one place, which I mean, it's the complete opposite of everything you wanted. And you still kept going, like, you know, it's like this old school like bullshit wrestling that's like outdated, but they're trying to make it, you know, like, don't, if it's not broken, don't fix it type of mentality. And it's like, yeah, okay, and then you finally get to go to CZW, and then they're like almost just fucking with you, and you had that wherewithal to just stay with it. You know, like eventually things are gonna work out, but
the other place with like yelling was more brutal. So I was already used to that mentality.
Yeah.
And I just was like, all right, everything's like, you have to like earn your spot, you know?
Right.
And you just have to deal with it as the young boy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know. It's like that, like what wrestling is now, which I wanted to ask you is, you know, because of how it's changed, but not just like, well, you know, what we see and what every, you know, like even us as fans see, but like the training mentality of it is completely different, which I think is immensely better in my head.
I think it's better to a degree.
Yeah.
It's better that people are getting treated better, of course, because you can't really take all that, but I feel like the way we came up, it made you appreciate everything so much more. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it made you, like, you had to earn your spot to be here. And then when you finally get anything, it makes you feel good about yourself, because it's like, wow, I did all this stuff to finally get this one thing.
Yeah, it does. It does make you like.
But I mean, there's a point where it's like, all right, sometimes it was too much, but I mean, that was just the way the business was at the time.
Right, and there are those certain guys that are, you know, like, oh my God, I'm trying to think. Some of the CZW dudes that, you know, he had just passed away. Actually, I hated his guts, to be honest.
It was like
with you.
tough love.
It's sort of tough love, but then there's also those that take advantage. You know, like there are always those guys that were really cool in the locker room. Like when I first started, like Devin Moore was always pretty fucking cool, and even Trent Acid when I first did a tryout, and then he was there. And the thing is, like, I mean, I always, you know, you go from like 2004 as like a super fan, and then then you see this dude in 2009, and you're like, well, he's a lot different now, but you still like respect the shit out of him because you just know everything about him, and but those guys were always really cool, but then there were the ones that like really sucked. Like what the hell is his name? He had I'm just drawing a blank now, just because I'm thinking about it. But oh my god, he used to have like super ass curly hair. He'd wear like zebra print shit, and none of it matched. And I thought he sucked. And he was like one of like the bigger heels, but I feel like he had more of like that X-Pac type heat. I'll think about it,
but yeah, like I think it's good that people are getting treated better. Like because like you shouldn't bully people and shit like that. 'Cause
right,
it's fucked up.
Yeah, but
I think there should be a happy medium, because a lot of shit I see, if I would have done that, I would have been fucking screamed at. I would have been told, like, I would have been put through all this other shit just because I did this one thing. Like, you would have had punishments.
It would have impacted your, like, upbringing, essentially.
Yeah, and, like, you would have had to deal with it at training, like, because back then they would be like, all right, if you fuck up all these times, you're doing squats and bumping on the floor.
Right.
And then the other thing is, like, it also was, like, now people just walk around and do whatever they want. Back then, you had to do everything that needed to be done before the show. Like, a lot of people would just dilly-dally around.
Yeah.
Like, back then, you weren't, like, you could, like, talk to the talent to, like, seek advice, but they weren't supposed to be your friends, because you had to earn your stay to even be in the locker room.
Yeah.
Unless we're supposed to be in the locker room, don't go in the locker room.
Right.
Like, always the golden rule.
Like, how many times, like, you would hear a DJ go, like, if you're not, like, on the fucking card or whatever, however you would say it, like, they'd say the fuck out of the locker room or whatever. But he was right. I mean,
paying your dues needs to be done. Sometimes people don't realize that anymore because it's not put in their head as much as it was to us.
Right.
Like, we made sure that ring was taken down. We made sure them chairs were set up, the guardrails. Everything was done because we knew that was our job.
Yeah.
As coming up, we had to earn our spot.
Yeah.
To be able to later on be able to earn our way to be able to relax.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Like earn our way to be able to relax.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But that's
like them people. They did that before us, so now they have the right to sit there and enjoy themselves. Mm-hmm. But we have to get to that point.
Right. There are two things. Like, one of them is like, I mean, to go back is that it made us appreciate when we finally earned a certain thing, right? Mm-hmm. Which is probably why, like, like doing it as long as I have, it's like, man, why was I such an idiot? And like, whatever. But I remember, like, it's like you were towards the more tail end of it, and then I was still, I guess, in there or whatever. I'm only like a little bit before you. Like, it's not like anything different. We both have the same mindset now than we ever did. Yeah. But it's, I remember having that bitter mind, about it at first. Like, like the super kick thing. Like, how many fucking super kicks were in here? Like, my favorite wrestler, fucking, it was a goddamn finish, like that type of shit. And now I'm just like, fuck it. Like, like, it's the same mentality of like, oh man, don't say that. And then now I'm just like, fuck it, say it, see what happens. Like, like that's, in wrestling, it's I almost do everything out of spite. Like, I hear somebody go, like, I hate it when, like, Preacher, I remember he would go, I hate it when people shake hands after a match. And, like, in my head, I'm like, I'm not really a big fan either. However, he's really vocal about it. I think I'm going to shake everybody's hand after a match. Like, the
shaking hand after a match shouldn't happen. Like, sometimes that happens too much.
There's a meaning behind it.
Like, if there's a meaning why you guys are shaking hands, because it matters, because it's two of the best shaking hands to say, okay, we respect each other now.
Yeah.
Okay. But not
there's
every
no story.
single match needs to shake hands afterwards. And be
exactly. Like,
just let the one guy have his moment, get his hand raised, and go to the other guy goes to the back.
Like, there's this in Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade. And in the beginning, it was like this saying that I love it. It was, well, hey kid, you lost today, but it doesn't mean you have to like it, And I just like, man, that's such a good saying. And then you bring that in, like, if you and I have a match and you win or whatever, but if we have like a fair, we're both, we're both like, I didn't cheat, I'm not like being a piece of shit. Like, we had like a good contest and I lost. It doesn't mean I have to shake your hand or whatever. This isn't like high school. Like, I can still look at you and then fucking roll out and be like pissed off about it. Like, damn it. Like, all right, like rats. I'll get them next time, like type of thing. But like, yeah, that same story of like shaking hands thing. But to go back to the whole training thing, like the one person I bring up, I brought him up like every time we talk about like training, because I think he's like the perfect example is Jordan Oliver.
Yeah.
Because Jordan came in like right at that point in which like, you know, it was because I think he's like such a good talent and like a good person, you know, and like he has that respect value that any one of us would have like to anybody, and he's also that same like jerk off that like, you know, that you just want to put in a fucking headlock, you know, like it's just that's that great thing, but it didn't need to take, you know, two or 3 years for him to be that, like, you know, because he was treated right, and also, if everybody's treated right, then, you know, why are we wasting time on people? You know, it's like, give him the chance. If he can fucking do that move and he can do a match, put him in there. Don't like.
But Jordan
fuck
also,
with him.
It was, he wanted it. Like he was he was super young when he first started.
Yeah.
He was traveling everywhere trying to learn. Like he went to a bunch of different schools. He would go anywhere just to have matches.
Yeah.
And when he and even now, like he's super respectful. He wants to get all these people's opinion because he loves wrestling, and he's there asking the vets like for advice. He's one of the guys like I'll see picking up chairs, helping out, sweeping, cleaning. He still does that to this day because he respects the business.
And also, he doesn't have an ego like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he does. He's a little bitch, but like, I mean, no, but he doesn't have that real super ego or whatever that like he thinks he's better than anybody. Even though like there are times where he fucking should,
and,
you know.
Yeah, I mean, and like that's the little like he didn't just come in and like make it his place. He's still like even like this past weekend I seen him cleaning up and doing chairs, and not that he's asked to do it. He could just chill and nobody would say anything, but he's doing it because he respects the business and he wants to, and he wants to help out.
Yeah, but
and he also wants to show the younger kids like, hey, look, I'm still doing it. So should you.
Yes, and the one of the things I think is so great is like he also, and again it's about appreciation. It's like he almost appreciates, you know, the upbringing to the point where like he just goes, you know, I'm so appreciative. Like at this age, I'm doing this, so it's like, man, like it's almost like he's saying, he's like, man, I don't deserve this. You know, even though he does, he 100% deserves it. It's just that, in his mind, I mean, like subconsciously, it's
he's
like
humble.
that. Yeah, exactly. He's humble. He doesn't feel he deserves it, and then he's like, he still thinks that he needs to earn it in such a way. You know, and I think that, you know, a lot of us are still, you know, like that. I mean, I always, it's like I'm like afraid to ask questions. Like, I'm afraid to reach out sometimes, and I almost like. I mean, I'm an overthinker anyway, but I overthink anytime I reach out to a promoter, you know?
Yeah, everybody does.
Like, it's, you know, it's just one of those things. It's funny, because even today, I'll bring it up, is like, I've known Brett since 2008, right? He was my high school, like, he signed off my internship to do at CZW. I did, like, TV production.
Yeah.
I made, like, a music video on Windows Movie Maker. And you know, he signed off for it, so I got to not have to go back to school, and all I did was train. But and like I can joke with him, like every time we're with him, it's like he's just another dude at the table, you know, we're hanging out, and like, you know, he became who he is now, right? And it's, you know, and you sort of see how some people like reach out, but like I'm still like. I'm like afraid to ask certain questions, like, hey, you know, just so you know, like I'm gonna be there. I just wanted to let you know, and then I'll just send an emoji, and I go, I want to kill you, like, because that's your response. And he was like, and I think part of it is he just does it because he like, you know,
at least you get an answer.
Yeah, I get an answer, you know, and yeah, I've like, what do we, like, how many times have we gotten that yo at like 4 a.m. It's, but you know, it's just one of those things that like, I think that the training now is there's good and bad, and I think one of the things is like there's nobody being held back. If you can hang, then, you know, give him the ball and give him a chance. Not, oh no, he didn't earn it yet, even though I know he's gonna be good. But let's you know, but he's starting wrestling at like 35 or something like that, you know. Like so, like I think of like Schlack, for example. I mean, that guy is the most ridiculous human being on the planet, and he started at a good time because if he started younger, he probably would have hated wrestling.
Yeah.
So, all right, one of the things that I think that I wanted to bring up with you, since we're talking about the training, is and I noticed this like pretty fucking quick, was when you came to CZW, and you came from a place that obviously sucks and couldn't fucking hang, is like you did this thing where you would be able to like make eye contact with people, man. I would watch you, listen to like DJ or Drew or whoever the fuck, and I remember how much you respected Michael Langdon, and like you would, but you would listen, you know, to whatever, like they'd be like, Jimmy, that's fucking dumb, man. You can't do that. You got to do this, this, and this, or whatever. And you go, okay, and then you would just like kind of, you would show this level of like, I understand what you're saying, and yeah, you're right. Like, yeah, like basically you were like, yeah, what you said, high five, fuck off, and then you would be able to get in the ring, and you would still just do what you really wanted to do, because at the end of the day, like, you know, wrestling was, you know, you don't care about WWE. You were already, you're well, I mean, of course, but we all want to be like, you know, we all want to be there.
We all want to just get to, like, my thing is like, I don't have like, I have to do this, but like, it would be cool to do it. You know what I mean?
Right. We all want that. I mean, it's just that. Yeah. But you were saying that your goal when you started, it's like you started small. Like,
yeah, like the thing is, I wanted to work my way up. Right. Like, not have like these crazy goals.
You have small goals, and then when you reach that goal, you have another goal, and then you keep going from there.
That's the
and
best
that's probably
way to do it,
I've come to realize that. But it's just, but what you did very early on that I remember, like I would notice, was you would listen and you really made people believe like you were listening, but you would still do what you wanted. You may have taken something, like you would know when like this opinion is valid and it's something that I need to take, but you're like, yeah, but you're also trying to take away from what I want to do, and that's the whole reason why I'm like, you know, I'm fucking doing this. Mm-hmm. And you would just still do it. And then it got to the point where people were like, yeah, I mean, you can tell Jimmy, but he's just gonna do it, you know, and then that's it. And then like I remember that going, well, why the fuck can't I do that? Like, and I was like, well, you didn't do it the same way. Like, and I was like, yeah, all right, you know. But so, I mean, is that, am I wrong when I say that?
Not completely wrong.
No. Right. So what is like what when you finally got to that point where you were like, you know, that it's almost like it's working. Like, I mean, tell me where I'm off in that opinion, but when you got to the point where you are almost now, where you are now, where you can just, you know, they give you a time, they tell you, you know, who's up, who's not, and then you just do whatever the fuck, you know, whatever you think is right. How do you push for more?
You push for more.
Like, you know, you get told something, and instead of, I mean, you're not really somebody who just goes, oh yeah, they told me not to bleed on the floor, but I'm gonna fucking do it anyway. Like, you don't do that. Like, you respect everything, you know, as much as you can.
As much as I can.
Yeah, and then, you know, but you still, like, in a weird way, like I watch you talk to people, and I like see how you sort of push things in a certain way. So I'm actually asking, like, I mean, how do you normally do it?
I just do what I feel is right in my. I mean, what I feel is right in my opinion.
Right.
Because everybody has their own opinion, and if I feel really strongly about it, I'll just push and push till I can get like an okay, or if they didn't even say anything about it, I'll just do it and see what happens, because I feel like the only way you really learn is if you go out there and do it the way you feel is right, and if it doesn't work, then you know you're wrong. Yeah,
I mean, it's more of that, what is it, like, not ask for permission, ask for forgiveness type of thing. But I mean, is there ever a time which, like, you knew, like, this is how, like, this match needs to go, and like I'm really pushing for it. It's not like I'm gonna meet in the middle. Like, I mean, we need this to land this way, like, type of thing. Has there ever actually been, like, a time like that? Or is most of the time, you know...
And what? And then they're arguing with?
Well, I mean, but then you end up... I mean, at the end of the day, you're like, I'm going to do it anyway, but I'm really fucking pushing for this.
Sometimes it's hard because you don't know if they're fucking with you or not. You know what I mean? Like, they could just be trying to get under your skin and, like, fuck with you. Like, when I wrestled, Raver at the Chicago one, like, recently.
Yeah, the end of
Yeah, the end.
Okay.
I was telling Brett, like, we need all this stuff, and like he was like, oh no, you don't need all that. But like, I don't know if he was just fucking with me. I was like, we need to do fire. He's like, no, you don't need to do fire. I was like, the last thing needs to be fire. And like the brain buster on the ladder, that was like what started it all.
Everything and every match
I said that'll be the big false because everybody will think it's over. Mm-hmm. It's done. They finally hit it right. That's the 1, 2, 3. But he kicked out. And I'm like, what? And then he came back and lit me on fire. Mm-hmm. So with him going over, I was like, okay, it has to be him putting me through fire again to finally end it all. Because we built fire the whole time. He came back, he lit me on fire. The I quit, he poured lighter fluid on me. And then he didn't light it, he just threw it. He said, no, but he brought the scissor board out and I quit. And then the night before, he was burning the Bible on me and throwing it on me. So it was like, fire's been a big thing all across. Mm-hmm. So I think if the Brainbuster's the big what the fuck kick out, it's like the fire is the last thing that happens. Yeah. And we got it. Yeah.
I mean, I know. When we watched it, like, the story itself, I mean, it's one of those things, it's like, it's not something you sit at a table like this and then you come up with. It happened because, well...
He also was saying no tubes on that ladder where Raver got hurt.
Yeah.
And but I was like, when he actually got hurt.
I know, but like,
and I was like,
do it again.
I was like, we could do it because it was also a weird thing because we had two ladders because the one side was like it was painter's ladders, and every other time we did it on just a normal.
It was a
regular ladder, and
cheap.
I was like, maybe we won't. I went to Raver. I was like, maybe we won't do the tubes tonight. We'll just do it plain. He was like, no, we need tubes because there's no other tube spot in the match, and that's the pop.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, we could do it, and then the leg fell out and. That all happened. Yeah, I mean the story, it's so organic is whatever, like the way to say it is. It's just because like that it was just supposed to be a match, mm-hmm.
Like a one-off. It's just like a simple, like me versus Chris. And it's just Chris kicking my ass the whole fucking time. And,
what's that? What are you saying was a one-off?
Like for example, like the backyard thing.
No, like which one was it?
The first one,
where he got hurt.
Yeah.
It was but it was a multi-man.
No, but I mean it's a one-off match,
mm-hmm.
But a story was created because he had a year off, and then it's like light bulbs go off, and then you just go, oh, we could do something with this. Like obviously in wrestling we don't hurt anybody on purpose, but fucking shit happens. You
want me to share the story of that whole thing? What happened?
What I mean when you heard it?
When I heard him.
Yeah, but give it like a summary.
I'll get into a summary. So that happens. I felt it was weird. I look up. I see the blood pouring down. I'm like, oh shit. I see him run to the back, and I knew that wasn't right because it was a lot of blood. So I ran with him, and then Filthy Time was calling 911. And I'm like grabbing a towel trying to hold him, and I was like, we don't have time. So a student was like, I'll take him. So we hopped in his car, we drove, we went to, I'm like, I'm so sorry. He's like, I'm fading. And he was bleeding so much. And we got to where the GPS said the hospital was, and I got him out of the car, and I was trying to open, and it was locked. And he was like,
Jesus fuck Christ.
And I started banging on the door, and he was like laying in my arms, and I'm crying. And I'm like, help. And then the cop comes in, he's like, what's wrong? I was like, he's dying, he's fucking dying. He's like, go a couple blocks up. So I take him, I pick him up, I put him in the car, we drive to the next one, and then I lift him up, put him in the wheelchair. We get there, I wheel him in, they take him to the back, they're like, what's his name? I said his name, they're like, "Where's he from?" I say where he's from. Like, "What's his birthday?" I was like, "I don't know his birthday." Then they're like, ask him what his birthday is. They're like, "He's unresponsive," and I'm freaking out. Like, "Oh no, I just
why are you guys like
killed him."
talking? Like,
And then and then like the cops came and questioned me. I was like, "Oh, we did this thing with a ladder and light tubes in a wrestling match, and you got a bad cut." And I was freaking out. And then eventually they said he's up, and I went and talked to him, like that. And then,
yeah.
trying to make it as quick as possible.
Yeah, actually making it quick made me like fucking have like almost a heart attack. But
It's crazy,
dude. I mean, I remember. I mean, I know the story. We talked about it, but like.
And then after that, he was like, "I'm never gonna do death matches again." And then
he's so
he came back because he was like, "All right, we kind of for this story, we kind of have to do it." And like at first, we started with like nothing. We did the I Quit match with me taking the shit, and then he was like, "All right, we got to get into it." Then eventually, we got to the glass and the light tubes and everything, and we never were gonna do the brainbuster spot ever again. We were like, "That spot's retired."
When did you? When was the first time you worked with him after he came back?
Was at the I Quit match in New Year's of 2020.
Okay, and that was
no New Year's of 2021.
And his when was his first match back?
October of 20.
Yeah,
of 2019.
2019.
No, 2020.
2020. Because he didn't wrestle, but like right before that in. Because I remember I wrestled Gage or whatever at his the H2O thing.
Benefit thing, yeah.
And when was that? What was
that was like November of
not 2019?
2019.
Yeah, and then he didn't wrestle until October. Yeah, his first match. I'm so sorry. His first match was fucking Matt's last match. Like yeah, I remember that now. I'm like, oh my god, it's all clicking. But it's insane to think like, you know, like
And that injury really fucked me up because I was like it made me see like shit, some bad shit can happen from this
real
shit,
stuff
and it got me
happens.
like all like nervous. I was having like these like weird dreams like where I would like see his like where I go for it and like I looked down, his face was sliced in half, and I was so sketched out. And then he called me one day. He was like, "We've been talking about this ladder the whole time, and that's what started it. I think we have to end it with the ladder." And I was like, "I don't know." He's like, "We have to do it. Like, I haven't said anything, but I've had this in my mind for a while that we have to do it."
Yeah.
And I was like, but then we did it.
Yeah.
But it was scary.
It's, you know, what's like with G-Raver, it's funny, I was just talking to him at the last H2O show, and I was talking about how like there are things I'm afraid to do still, you know, with my ankle, and he's like, you know, like as the months go on, like you're basically gonna start going like I used to do this, like why don't I do it anymore, you know? And then you're just like, oh, because I'm afraid, you know, and like, but it's gonna keep egging you on until you finally fucking do it.
I know.
And like I'm like, it stuck with me, and he just said it like so nonchalant, and then, you know, because he's now, I mean, because of that, he's just like he's already been through it. So now he's like, I'm a fucking vet. I know what the fuck, you know. It's dude, you're not gonna be able to use your hand ever again. But like, you know, it's, you know, you put one foot in front of the other, unless it doesn't work, you know, like that type of shit. And I'm just like, you know, I was listening to him, but it stuck with me, and then like this actually just validated it. You know, and that's why I'm like, you know, you watch like how he works now. It's like he's just doing even immensely better than he did before, and it's like it almost sometimes it takes like an injury to make yourself do even better, because you almost like go, you know, I mean, in my head I just go, wow, like this shit could end at any second, you know, and that's, and then even you know, hurting him because you're super unsafe and like,
yeah, all right.
I mean, if there's anybody that I would like take a tombstone from the fucking top rope, you know, onto nothing, you know, it's you, and I don't even like really sweat about it, you know, and I'm like, fuck is wrong with me, you know, but that is how it is. It's like, you know, sometimes in wrestling, like that realism comes out finally, like after like us. You know, like even me and Connor, we were doing that trampoline spot. I'm terrified of heights. I just trusted Connor a lot, you know, because I trust him a lot with like my life.
Yeah.
Actually, and then same thing with you, and it's like, man, you know, and then it takes an injury, which was me. Like, I just a bullshit, baseball slide or whatever. But it makes you overthink immensely with wrestling. Like, his was a lot more major, and he lost that movement with his hand, and him to come back and do that, it's like, man, I have no fucking room to bitch. But it affects people mentally, and I think that's what's crazy, and and what people don't really seem to understand is like D'Lo Brown, for example, when he fucking paralyzed Droz or whatever. Like I mean that guy, 100%, he takes it with him all the time.
Definitely.
So I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna go back to something better.
Yeah.
So you've been with GCW to Japan, to Mexico, the UK, whatever. Like, give me like some of the best experiences there. Like, not just the matches, but even like the time there, being in like an area in which you're like, wow, like this isn't a place that I ever thought I was gonna go with this.
Yeah, Japan is like crazy, because it's like it's Japan.
Yeah.
It's like a totally different world. It's awesome, and the goal for most wrestlers is to wrestle in Japan. At least go there and wrestle at least once, because it's like it's a big thing. You want to go to Japan, so it was always a goal. And like I was like, wow, I'm going to Japan, but it really sunk in when I was on that plane. And I'm like, whoa, I'm actually going to Japan right now. And it was just an experience. Like going to Masunaga's steakhouse, and the steak was awesome. Like doing everything you always heard about. Yeah. But actually doing it.
You're those guys. Like, you're the road warriors.
Yeah, going to Ribera and getting a Ribera jacket like that. I always wanted the Ribera jacket, and the fact that I got it, I was like, whoa, that's awesome. And then I got the main event, Corrigan Hall, my first tour against Jun Kasai and Takeda, two people I
fucking insane.
Looked up to and always wanted to be in the ring with Jun Kasai. And to do it on the Jun Kasai Carnival, Deathmatch Carnival, I was like, wow, that's awesome. And Jun Kasai handpicked us, me and Marcus.
Yeah.
And we didn't know until we were in Japan. And I remember I was at the Airbnb in Japan, and I got a message that had the lineup. And I was like, whoa. So I ran up, and I knew how much that would mean to Marcus, wrestling, because that was like his ultimate dream, to wrestle Jun Kasai. So I was like, yo. He's like, what? And I'm like, we're wrestling Jun Kasai at Corrigan Hall. Kasai and Takeda, me and you, in the main event. He's like, what? And he like freaked out.
What?
Yeah, that was awesome.
That's so fucking cool. I mean, it is. It's like it's. There are really sometimes there are like no words, because, there, you didn't expect any of this. You didn't like. It's like you at some point, it'd say me being small or whatever. It's like it's like you don't even expect that you're ever going to be like a person that's going to main event anything ever. You're never going to hold this title or anything like that. And like these things that like we get taught, we're like, oh, it doesn't really fucking matter. It's like, actually it fucking does. It means the world, actually. So as even when you get into the business, it's like some of those things that are looked at as when you're in there, and like some of those vets just go like, yeah, there are things, it's not real, like type of thing. It's like, actually it's more real now than it has ever been. Yeah. And that's one of them.
And like Mexico was just crazy experience. I've been there so many times now.
I'm jealous. that's where I want to go.
And
really
like,
bad.
Yeah, I got so many different experiences. But one story that really sticks out with me is I went one time, and I was like the only foreigner going.
Okay.
That I knew of, and then there was this other foreigner when I got there that they told me was there, and I never met him before in my life. But I was like, okay, we have to stick together on this, because we're here for a week and a half, and we're here together just the whole time. And the first day we got there, someone picked us up from the airport, and they took us to a bunch of different hotels, and they were like, they were nice hotels, and they were like, oh, sold out. Then they took us to this one hotel, and it was like, they were like, it's not the best, but it's okay. Is that okay? I'm like, yeah, whatever. We were in this car for an hour and a half,
like,
riding
what
around.
Do I have?
And then they took us up there. There's all these people looking at us real weird when we're walking. They take us in the room. It's like a weird looking room, and then the bathroom looks like a Saul bathroom. Like it's a big white like warehouse type deal with a little toilet and a little tub. And they're like, it's okay. Like, we're, yeah, it's fine. We're sitting there talking after they left, and I realized they didn't give us a key to the room. Then I look on the pillow. There's a blood stain on it. I look at the dresser. There's blood coming down. So then I start freaking out. And it was like it was DTU, but we were over there representing GCW, so I didn't know what to do. So I called Brett, and I told Brett. He yelled at Crazy Boy, and then like 30 minutes later, there was a guy to come pick us up. And when we were walking out, people started like yelling, yo, 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 all these guys that were looking at us. So I just ran right to the car. I jumped in, and then they took us to like a 5-star hotel after that. But it was like a crazy experience.
That's not cool at all. I mean, that's fucking terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ.
And the UK was fun.
It
was cool.
It was just really gray, you know. But yeah, I mean that's crazy as shit. I mean, DTU. I don't know really anything about it. I got like followed by him on Instagram because of you guys probably, and then I was looking at him like, oh, it seems like pretty fucking fun. And then like Connor would have like half-assed talk about it, you know, and I'm like, well, Connor isn't even like leaving his house, you know, so but
the UK I went by myself too, and I did a TNT Extreme Wrestling, which was fun. They took care of me really well, and it was a deathmatch tournament, and it was really fun.
That's cool. Is that the only time you've ever been there?
Yeah, one time.
Okay. What when you went there? Is there any like, it's weird because like I feel like there's always more stories, in wrestling that I hear about. In Japan and in Mexico. Like, those are, like, I swear to God, the two countries in which I actually hear, like, anything, like, interesting. And then UK is, like, I was in the UK, and then I came back.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was it.
I went to the UK. I was there. I went a day before, because I was like, all right, I'm going to go explore, and then I didn't know what to do. Because I was just by myself, so I just sat in this room. And then I went and drank the next day. It was cool. Then I did the show.
Yeah. And
then right after that, I flew home, and then literally... like a few hours later, I flew to Japan.
That's fucking messed
second
up.
tour.
Oh, Jesus Christ, dude! Why don't I just live in the air? But I mean, yeah, in the UK, it's like, what do I do? Do I like get a meat pie or something like that, and then just say I did, But I don't know. So when, like, from the moment like you started wrestling, and you're wrestling. Not like in the beginning where it's all bullshit. It's when you're wrestling consistently, and you're like kind of figuring it out. You're at that point where you're just like, it's starting to add up, and like the right things to say, and like who the right people to work for, type of shit. Up until now, did you ever at any point think that this is like the shit that you were going to experience? Or like, what was your first goal was CZW, and then, you did it, and then from there, now you're at, you just like you said, you had the bucket list of like 3 places, and you did the 2 of them, and then Hammerstein, which is really an oddity of one of not an oddity, maybe lack of a better word, but it's not a building that is used as often, and plus New York sucks. Like, it's just dude. Like, I mean, even when we went, we would just go to New York, and we're just like, wow, man, like, what's parking? Like, what's this? Fuck, is that a ticket? Like, the hell did I do wrong? And like, that's it. I just want a pizza, and that's that like, and then there's the Hammerstein ballroom, and like. At the end of the day, it is an oddity. It's like not a place that's used often, but that almost makes it, like it's a royalty.
Yeah.
It's something that not many have. Like Corgan Hall, like a lot of people have wrestled there. And
Arena.
In the arena, a lot of people. I mean, I've main evented there once, but and and then the Hammerstein ballroom, and like not many at all have, and I think that's fucking cool. So what I'm saying is, like, did you think that you were gonna make it to the? Did you think you were gonna make that bucket list?
I mean, I didn't. It's hard to say, you know.
Right.
I didn't. It's hard to know what you're going to experience. You just got to kind of take the ride and see where it takes you. I mean, it's hard to predict how your experience is going to go.
Yeah, especially when you have that, like, you know, quiet, do what you want mentality, you know. But and then now that you're going to do it, like it's set, like it's happening. You're gonna be on pay-per-view, which is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, it's pretty
You know,
awesome.
there's gonna be a time where nobody's gonna ever be able to say that again. Like it is in our lifetime, you're gonna be like, oh man, you gotta contact your local cable provider, you know, and then there's gonna be a time where you just go, nah, it's Fight TV or nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's on both right now.
Yeah, I know they advertise. I watched them, or I saw their shit today.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you could get the pay-per-view, but you know, it's nah, dude, I think I really want to pay $59.99. But
it's actually only $25, I think.
I know. And so when that's done, and you do that, what's your next goal?
Probably a stadium.
Just retire.
A stadium.
I think
right?
you should just retire.
Yeah, all right.
I mean, dude, can't really hang anymore. No, so a stadium.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the next level up, right?
Yeah, Well, I mean,
like an arena, you know what I mean?
yeah.
That's what I meant by a stadium, like an arena. That's probably the next one.
And where do you want to do it with?
GCW.
All right. But do you see, like, what do you see? You know, and this, the reason why I'm asking is because, you know, and this is where I think we're gonna end.
Mm-hmm.
Is you know, like, really, you know, one of the last outlaws, right? Like, you're somebody that should not have succeeded in the eyes of
the public.
Yeah, and like, especially like in the eyes of where you fucking started, right? Those guys literally look at you in probably right now, and in such resentment, and they see the success you have, and in their heads, like, they could rack their brains forever, and they want to call it a fluke, and it's like, it's fucking not. Like, every match that I've ever had with you, it's like, man, like, how many times do I, like, you know, like, I'm asking you your opinion on things, you know, and I think that's, I don't see anything wrong with that. It's like, man, when there's somebody that has, like, better ideas and something that I could, you know, at least for me, I'm like, I look at you and I go, I think he's going to have way better ideas than me, and that the only thing I can contribute is, like, an add-on to it. But those guys are going to have nothing but, like, resentment towards you, you know, and I mean, it's like, it bothers me. Like, that's why I'm like losing, you know, composure here, just because I see you as, like, one of those guys that, like, man, you know, there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be every single place ever, and then really at the end of the day, you fucking are everywhere. And that's because of GCW and because where GCW came. And then the only question I have was, you know, what's your end game when it's all over?
Well, real quick. So you said resentment. Brian Johnson, the guy that originally trained me, he was at the On Point show, and he said, like, if you really think about it, it's crazy. You're the one that did the most out of everybody, when nobody would think you would be the one that actually did the most.
Yeah, you're like the mutt in the litter.
And he said, and you'll probably be the one that gets signed somewhere out of everybody, and that's pretty crazy and cool because you did it. You had a goal and you did it your way and the way you wanted to. You didn't listen to anybody. You just had something in mind and you went out and you actually did it. Mm-hmm. And what was that last thing you said?
Well, I mean, I was saying the resentment towards, like, the guys that were giving you this shit. But
what did you say, like, last? Like, what's
I was
my
saying,
end goal?
what is your end goal?
It's the same like it's always been. Just see the furthest I can go. Just keep on going and going and going,
I love it.
and just see where I end up.
I think
I don't want to set anything. I just want to see where the ride takes me.
Yeah, And I think because of that mentality, like, you're going to go further than everybody else, you know. And you lead. It's almost like you lead by example. And there are people that, like, you know, do as I say, not as I do, and you're literally like, do as I say and do as I do. Like, and that's a compliment, and I mean that as like I look at you, you know, and I'm like, you know, I started before you. Like, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't fucking mean shit. At the end of the day, like, I look at you and I go, like, you know, Jimmy did this, and that makes sense to me now because I saw him do it. And, you know, and I look at you, I almost, like, you know, in, like, lack of a better word or term, I'm like, I look up to you because I'm like, wow, he's doing everything that, like, was right, and I didn't see it that way because I'm like a late bloomer in that term. But you know, at the end of it, I think that you know, I think you're gonna do all right. So anyway, you know, I thank you, man, for finally doing it for me. You know, pencil me in.
Yeah,
and
it took a while. I've been a busy man.
I know, busy, like, watching, like, your matches on my TV on YouTube. Like, I know, it's been really difficult. But, you know, thanks for doing it. I appreciate it.
Sure.
You know, and now I guess we're probably going to end this and probably watch your match on YouTube or something. So, thanks, buddy.